ever tried to like have that, life balance, work-life balance? Like people think that's a thing. It is not a thing, honey. Let me tell you. Hey girl, hey, it's your girl Loretta here, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. This is where self-care meets soul care, and where every day is a different day, but we choose to make the most out of today. Well, Happy New Year, you guys. It's 2023, and I'm just so excited and looking forward to what 2023 has in store for all of us. But when I think about this new year, one word comes to mind, and that word for me is balance. Like this year, I want to be more balanced in every area of my life. I want to be more balanced physically, spiritually, emotionally, and even socially. Like I just want to be a well-rounded, more balanced person. Can you relate? Like if you can, come on, talk to me. Put it in the comments. I want this year to be a life of balance. I'm actually reading a book right now by Pastor Teray Roberts about balance, and it's so good. I would definitely recommend it. But also when I think about the word balance, a story comes to mind, and that story is what we talked about in our last video, the tale of two sisters, Mary and Martha. And if you didn't get a chance to look at the video, it's all good. You can catch it right here by clicking the link. But in the video, we go into the scriptures and we actually read Luke chapter 10, verse 38 through 42, where we see these sisters with Jesus. And we see that Martha is so frustrated with her sister Mary because Martha is busy doing, but Mary is busy being. But I feel like both sisters were out of balance. Like Martha was so busy serving while Mary was so busy sitting. Like there was no balance between the sisters. And I honestly think this is why Jesus wanted us to see this story. I believe that he wants us to understand that there has to be balance in every area of our lives. And the only way that we can find balance is through him. Like we can't find balance on our own. Have you ever tried to like have that, life balance, work-life balance? Like people think that's a thing. It is not a thing, honey. Let me tell you. I have tried to find it, haven't found it yet, but I do find balance with God. I do find balance when I am so focused on my relationship with him, when I'm so focused on my soul care, filling my cup, not running on empty. I do find that I am more balanced, that I feel more balanced. So I just wanted to encourage you all that this year, 2023, is going to be the year of balance for us. But as we're thinking about this word balance and what that's going to mean for us, we are going to have to put some priorities and things in place. And so I'm going to challenge you to do this with me. I want us to focus on 3 areas that we're going to have to embrace in order for balance to come into fruition for us, okay? So here's the first thing that we're going to have to embrace: the value of priorities. I just said it little briefly, but the value of priorities. We have to decide that we are going to value our priorities and make sure that our priorities are something that we set straight. Like we know what they are. We're not going to compromise anymore on our priorities. If they are a priority for us, we're going to make sure that we are very, very intentional to continue to prioritize in our lives. Because the reality is, many of us are always busy doing something. Many of us have seasons in our lives where we can definitely relate to Martha, where we are just constantly doing. And so what we have to do is we have to prioritize, those things that really matter. What really matters to you? Is it your family? Is it your relationship? Maybe you're in a relationship or marriage. Is it your career? Your career endeavors, your business that you're starting off the ground, or maybe you're a seasoned entrepreneur, you want to scale. What are your priorities in your spiritual life? Is your priority for 2023 to grow in God, to develop a closer relationship with him? Like really think about what your priorities are. This is actually what I want us to do together. Write down 10 of your top priorities, okay? And we're gonna rank those. 1 is gonna be the highest priority for you. 10 is gonna be like the lowest one, right? So I want you to write those priorities down. And then what I want you to do is let's go a step further. We're not only gonna just write those priorities down, but then we're gonna set parameters in place for those priorities. So I'll give you an example. For me, number 1 for 2023 is spending intentional time with God. It's number 1 for me. I can no longer not take care of my soul. I have to make him a priority every single day, guys. So the parameter that I'm gonna set in place in order to make sure that this remains a priority is I'm gonna choose to spend 30 minutes a day of uninterrupted time with God. So that might mean that I have to wake up way early or stay up way late, because many of you all know, but if you don't, I have 2 littles. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 1-year-old. And so yes, you understand that once they wake up, that's it. Like, they're the priority at that point. And they should be, right? Because they're my babies. But what I have to choose to do is sacrifice. I'm going to have to sacrifice some sleep. So whether it's me waking up super early, which I prefer, or whether it's when I put them down for bed and I stay up a little later, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to set this parameter of 30 minutes of uninterrupted time in place in order for me to continue to keep God a priority. So that's an exercise that I want you to do. As I continue to do this, as I continue down this journey of balance, let's do this together. Let's journey together, okay? Because this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do life together so that we can grow together. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to embrace, the value of priorities. The next thing that we're gonna embrace for balance is the blessings of boundaries. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a little story. There was an experiment done by some researchers with these little kids. And what happened was they had these group of kids go on 2 different playgrounds, okay? So playground A was a playground that was real nice and everything. The only thing is this playground did not have any fencing or railing. Like, it just had like the equipment, right? Okay, playground B was a nice playground as well, but it had the fencing and it had the railing. So they monitored the kids on playground A for a minute, and then they told them to transition over to playground B. Well, what they found was when they were at playground A, none of the kids played on the actual playscape. Like, they played around it, they played with each other on the ground, but they never really played on the playground, or the playscape, excuse me. When they got to playground B, all the kids got on the playground. Like, they got on the playscape, they got on all the things because there was railing and fencing. There were boundaries put in place for them to feel safe. So this for me was a lesson that there is safety in creating boundaries. And I know that, like, we don't like the word boundaries. Like, you know, it's a thing. Like, it's like we say that we have boundaries, but we really don't. Like, even with our friends, like, you know, sometimes we just don't have boundaries. It's like we might feel bad if we say no, or we might feel bad if we set some time just for ourselves. We put our phone on silent or night mode. It's like, oh, you know, what are people going to think? No, girl, give yourself permission to put some boundaries in place for you, because you matter. Your time matters, and the only way that you are going to have a balanced life is by setting some boundaries and putting them in place and understanding that there is a blessing in boundaries. We even see this when we look at the Israelites. I always roll my eyes with the Israelites because let's just all agree that they just did a lot of stuff wrong, but we can learn from them. And one thing that I learned about boundaries as it relates to the Israelites is that God tells Moses to tell the Israelites, this is when they, you know, are getting ready to go to the promised land. He tells them to go out and gather food for like 6 days, right? And then he tells them on the seventh day, aka the Sabbath. Hey, shout out Sabbath, plug. No, but on the 7th day, which is Sabbath, he wants them to rest, right? So he says, okay, gather all these food. You know, the first 6 days, gather a lot of food. The 6th day, gather double. Like, you know, I'll make sure there's more for you out. to gather, and then the seventh day, no one go gather food. Like, y'all just chill, rest, relax, okay? I got y'all. Well, these people, they go out on the seventh day. And what do they find? Nothing. Like, they find no food because God told them not to go out. And so he gets so upset and he tells Moses, when are these people going to trust me? Like, when are they going to just obey me? Like, they don't understand that the Sabbath is a gift. Like, I'm giving them the gift of rest, and they're not even taking it because they don't understand there is a blessing in keeping this boundary of Sabbath. Like, they don't get it, right? They don't understand that by not overworking, that I actually will produce more for them. But they think, because they're so used to working, right? They were slaves. They were used to really overworking. They think that with overworking comes more. No, working equals less. And we even see this in our own lives, y'all. Like, have you ever been so overworked, or you worked overtime, or you lost sleep because you were up all night doing something, working on a project? If you're a content creator, you're doing all this stuff, right? And you're burnt out. And so you're going from job to job, or you have to go to work the next day, but you're running on empty. You're running on low. Because if you're overworking, you're actually producing less. But if you were to just rest and create this boundary in your life so that you could get some pockets of time for yourself to fill yourself up, you will be able to produce more. So that's the second thing, y'all. If we're going to have this life of balance for 2023, if we're going to be like Mary and Martha, we have to understand that there is blessings in creating boundaries. And the last thing that we're going to do as we embrace balance together is we are going to embrace the rhythm of rest. We kind of hinted to it when we talked about boundaries, right? But y'all, rest is so important. Like, making sure that we create pockets of time in our lives where we just do nothing is critical. If we're going to step into the next dimension of our lives, if we are going to really do what God has called us to do, we have to understand that we cannot be a master of, a jack of all trades and a master of many. We will be a jack of all trades and a master of none. We cannot do all the things and be everywhere and be everything to everybody. We have to understand that there is value in rest. Listen to this quote by Jen Wilkin. Our patterns of work and rest reveal what we believe to be true about God and ourselves. God alone requires no limits on his activity. To rest is to acknowledge that we humans are limited by design. We are created for rest just as surely as we are created for labor. An inability or unwillingness to cease from our labors is a confession of unbelief, an admission that we view ourselves as creator and sustainer of our own universe. How many times have you heard you are the captain of your ship and master of your fate? And some of that is true because, yes, we do have to do the work to produce. However, we are not the creator and sustainer of our universe. Only God is. And I believe that sometimes we choose to become our own God in our own lives. We take it all on and we always feel like we have to do. I can't rest, right? There's, all these quotes like, sleep when you're dead, right? Hustle and grind. Like, these are things that we hear all the time. And we have it's like this pressure that we put on ourselves to overproduce in order to get to the next step of our destiny, or to get to the next step of our purpose. And God is like, no, like, that is not the way that I designed you. Like, if you just come to me, he says it, right? In Matthew, it says, come to me, like all who are weary and heavy laden, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. And so I encourage you all as we continue down this journey together of starting this new year off strong, having balance in our lives, being like Mary, where we sit and we glean from God, but also being like Martha, where we work and serve when it's necessary. We have to understand that we have to prioritize the things that are important. We also have to understand that there is a blessing in creating boundaries for us. And we also need to make sure that we rest. So I hope that this video has been a blessing to you. I hope that it has encouraged you and inspired you as we gear up for 2023. I am believing by faith that it is going to be an amazing year. And I know that we can become more balanced in God if we do these 3 things. So until we meet again, have an amazing day and choose to be the best version of yourself.